What would you do if your manager of 12 years accused you of betrayal in front of your entire team over a job application she had no business reading? This is betrayal, pure and simple. Brianna's voice cracked as it echoed across the break room. She was standing there like a prosecutor in a courtroom, waving a piece of paper as if it were proof of some unspeakable crime. It wasn't. It was my job application, a private one she had no right to even see. I stood there, coffee mug in hand, watching the woman I had reported to for over a decade unravel in front of half the office. Her face was flushed red, her expensive blowout starting to frizz at the crown. I didn't say anything at first. I didn't have to. The silence in the room did all the talking. It was sharp, heavy. Everyone pretended to be focused on their coffee or granola bars, but I could feel the eyes on me, on her, on the story unfolding that no one had been prepared for. "How could you do this to me, Karen?" she shrieked, her voice rising with every syllable. "After everything I've done for you, everything she'd done for me." That almost made me laugh. I placed my mug gently on the counter, careful not to show anything on my face. I'd learned over the years that in Brianna's world, your calmness only made her angrier, but it was also the only thing that gave you power. "Actually, Brianna," I said, my voice low and level, "that's not a resignation letter. That's a job application I submitted through LinkedIn to a private employer. I'm curious, how exactly did you get access to that?" Her eyes narrowed into slits, and for a second the mask slipped. "That doesn't matter," she spat. "What matters is that you've been sneaking around behind my back. After 12 years of loyalty to this company, and to me, this is how you repay us, 12 years. 12 years of staying late to fix her mistakes, of shielding clients from her tantrums of building systems, and solving crises she didn't even understand. 12 years of being told maybe next year every time I brought up the raise I had clearly earned. And now she was calling me disloyal." "I've been exploring my options," I replied simply. "It's a competitive market. I think it's wise to stay informed." "Informed?" Her voice cracked. "Karen, you have everything you need here. I've protected you from pressure you can't even imagine. I've made sure you had job security, stability, and this is how you thank me." Behind her, Jennifer from accounting looked visibly uncomfortable, likely recalling all the times she'd heard Brianna call me difficult when I pushed back on her chaotic planning. This wasn't about loyalty. It was about power. It always had been. "I think we should finish this conversation in your office," I offered, still trying to preserve some shred of professionalism, but Brianna wasn't interested in quiet resolutions anymore. "No," she said, her voice sharp as broken glass. "I think everyone here should know the truth. The kind of person you really are. Disloyal, ungrateful, sneaky." The words didn't hurt. Not anymore. Because in that moment, something inside me clicked, something I had buried deep down over the years while trying to survive under her leadership. The truth was simple. She wasn't angry that I applied for another job. She was terrified I might actually leave. Because deep down, Brianna knew what I was just starting to admit to myself. Without me, she couldn't keep this place running. Not the clients, not the operations, not even her own reputation. My name is Karen Whitley. I'm 45 years old, and for the last 12 years I've worked as the senior logistics coordinator at Northrise Apparel, a clothing distribution company based in Charlotte, North Carolina. 12 years of loyalty, 12 years of quiet sacrifice, and it had led to this public humiliation by the very person I had helped succeed. But to understand how we got here, how I ended up being framed as a traitor for simply knowing my worth, we need to rewind. Because this betrayal didn't start with a job application. It started the day I said yes to a job that would slowly drain me dry. 12 years ago, I walked into Northrise Apparel with quiet hope and a freshly signed divorce decree. I was 33, newly single, emotionally drained, and desperate for stability. Logistics wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. And steady back then felt like salvation. Brianna Lowe had hired me personally. She was 38 at the time, sharp as a knife with a Duke business degree and a designer blazer that looked like it cost half my rent. She was the kind of manager who talked about synergy in one breath and crushed you with numbers in the next. I admired her, I won't lie. Back then, I thought we were building something together. And for a while, we were. In the early years, I was a machine. I streamlined our vendor systems, fixed the shipping inconsistencies she inherited from her predecessor, and built direct relationships with our top-tier suppliers. Every crisis became my playground. I thrived on finding solutions. Brianna praised me publicly and leaned on me privately. We were a team, or so I thought. But then the cracks started to form. Around year 5, Brianna changed. She became possessive, obsessed with optics. She began copying herself on every email I sent, claiming it was just to stay in the loop. Process improvements I suggested were shot down only to resurface weeks later as Brianna's initiatives. My voice became an accessory to hers, and slowly it disappeared. Still, I pushed through, because I believed hard work spoke for itself, because I believed loyalty would pay off, because I believed that when the time came, she would advocate for me the way I had supported her. But belief is a fragile thing when matched against corporate ambition. I asked for my first raise after my 6th year. I had just renegotiated our supplier contract, saving the company nearly $200,000 a year. I came prepared, slides and all. Brianna listened, smiled, and said she'd bring it to the execs. 2 weeks later, she called me in. "Karen," she said with those practiced, empathetic eyes, "I fought for you. But corporate just isn't authorizing increases this cycle. Maybe next year." Maybe next year became a mantra. Maybe next year when I managed a warehouse crisis that should have sunk our Q3 targets. Maybe next year when I trained 2 junior hires and fixed their onboarding messes. Maybe next year after I ran a vendor satisfaction rate of 97% solo. Meanwhile, the company was booming. I found that out the hard way. During a vendor lunch in my 8th year, Janet Morrison, our fabric supplier, congratulated me on Northree's record-breaking profits. My smile froze. Record-breaking, I'd been told we were under tight budget controls. My raise requests had been denied on that basis repeatedly. That night, I stayed late, dug through vendor payments, shipping volumes, system logs. I pieced it together like a forensic accountant, and what I saw made my stomach flip. Not only was the company thriving, my division was a gold mine. Logistics, the department I ran almost entirely by myself, was creating hundreds of thousands in value each year. My conservative estimate, I was responsible for at least $800,000 in cost savings and efficiency gains annually. My salary, $62,000. It wasn't just neglect, it was robbery in a pencil skirt. Still, I told myself there had to be a reason, that maybe I was overreacting. But then came the kicker. Derek in purchasing got a $15,000 raise. Stephanie in customer service, promoted with a pay bump. Neither had half my workload. Neither had handled half the crises. When I brought it up to Brianna, she delivered her most insulting performance yet. "I value you, Karen," she said, tilting her head with fake concern. "But the executive team is focused on departmental equity. If we give you a raise, we'd have to do it across the board. It just wouldn't be fair." Fair. That word stuck in my throat like broken glass. It wasn't fair when Brianna took credit for my systems. It wasn't fair when I stayed late for a warehouse audit while she left for cocktails. It wasn't fair when I was told to develop my skills while she climbed the ladder off my back. I started documenting every incident, every time she deflected, every raise denied, every backhanded comment disguised as feedback, because somewhere deep inside me, I had decided something. Maybe next year would finally become never again. It started with a single notification, a soft ping from LinkedIn while I was eating dinner alone, curled up on my worn-out sofa, exhausted from yet another week of holding an entire department together with duct tape and willpower. "Patricia Wells from Gravora Group has viewed your profile." I didn't think much of it at first. Recruiters check profiles all the time. But 2 days later, I received a direct message. "Hi, Karen. I've been reviewing your logistics experience at Northrise Apparel. We're currently seeking a director of logistics operations for our East Coast division. Your profile stood out immediately. Would you be open to a confidential conversation?" I reread it 3 times, unsure if it was real. Director, not coordinator, not manager, director, and the salary range. nearly double what I was making. I didn't feel excited, not right away. The first feeling was shame, because deep down I realized something brutal. This wasn't validation, it was evidence. Evidence that I had wasted years waiting for someone who never planned to promote me. Still, I responded. Patricia and I scheduled a call. From the first moment, she spoke to me differently. She asked about my crisis protocols, my vendor negotiation strategies, my ideas for sustainable freight solutions. She wasn't just interested, she was listening. Karen, she said, during our second interview, your reputation precedes you. 2 of our suppliers mentioned you by name. That kind of trust isn't easy to earn. I almost cried when she said that. Not because I was emotional, but because no one at Northrise, especially not Brianna, had ever said anything like it. I passed every round of interviews. Each one was more invigorating than the last. And when the offer came, Senior Director of Logistics Operations, $95,000 annually, full benefits, and a clear track to VP, I didn't know what to do. I stared at the email for 10 minutes, heart racing. This was it, my chance, my escape, my recognition. But I hesitated. 12 years is a long time. And as twisted as it sounds, part of me felt like I owed Brianna, or maybe I just didn't want to burn bridges. So I gave her one last chance. I walked into her office with my best poker face. I've been thinking about my career path here, I started. There's been interest from another company, and I wanted to discuss potential growth opportunities at Northrise. She didn't even look up. Karen, she said flatly, we've discussed this. Your role is important, but your compensation is aligned with your responsibilities. Actually, I said slowly, the offer I received says otherwise. That got her attention. Her hands froze over her keyboard. What kind of offer, Senior Director? Logistics, Gravora Group. It's a significant pay increase. For a moment, I saw it. Panic. Then just as quickly, it vanished. I see, she said coolly. And you think it's appropriate to use outside offers to pressure your current employer? I blinked. Was she serious? I'm not pressuring anyone. I said, I'm giving you the opportunity to retain someone who's brought significant value to this company. Her jaw clenched. Karen, you do your job. That's it. You follow the systems I built and manage accounts I helped you land. If you think you're irreplaceable, you're delusional. The words hit like a slap, not because they were cruel, but because they confirmed what I had long suspected. In her mind, I was nothing more than a cog, a replaceable gear in a machine she thought she ran. But the truth was, she didn't run it. I did. I smiled faintly. Thank you for your perspective. That night, I called Patricia and accepted Gravora's offer. No counter, no second guessing. It was time. My first day at Gravora Group felt like breathing fresh air after years in a windowless room. Patricia Wells, my new boss, greeted me with a firm handshake and a folder full of information that would rewrite everything I thought I knew about the logistics world. Inside were reports, client feedback, competitive analysis, vendor performance dashboards. But it was the list of prospective accounts that stopped me cold. Coastal Manufacturing, Pinnacle Textiles, Morrison Fabrics. My heart skipped. All 3 were major clients I had worked with during my time at Northrise Apparel. All 3 had been loyal for over a decade, and all 3 were apparently unhappy. These companies are looking to switch, Patricia explained, but they're hesitant. Their current provider knows their operations well, too well. We need someone who understands their systems, their rhythm. She didn't say it outright, but she didn't have to. That someone was me. I had spent years building those relationships. I knew their delivery patterns, their fiscal calendars, their quirks. I knew the exact rush order protocol for Coastal Manufacturing's summer collection. I knew Morrison's preferred route planner by name. I had smoothed over every missed shipment, every customs delay. Have they expressed specific concerns? I asked carefully. Morrison is frustrated with delays. Coastal says the flexibility's gone. Pinnacle is worried about sustainability reporting, says their provider's behind the times. I almost laughed. Every single concern they listed, I'd raised those exact issues at Northrise over the past 2 years and been told, that's just disruption. We don't need. Patricia then slid a folder across the table. Here's something else. Competitive analysis. North Rise Apparel. Inside were hard numbers. Declining delivery performance down 23% in 2 years. Customer satisfaction plunging. Turnover in the logistics team spiking. I recognized the signs. The ship was slowly sinking and Brianna didn't even see the leaks. How did you get all this? I asked. Vendors talk. And when we started hearing consistent concerns from shared partners, we listened. That evening I went home and stared at my phone for an hour. Then I dialed Robert Uled at Morrison Fabrics. Karen, he answered after 2 rings. I heard you moved to Gravora Group. Congratulations. Thanks, Robert. I'm settling in well. I understand you've been having some issues lately. There was a long pause. Then a sigh. That's putting it mildly. He laid it out, plainly missed delivery windows, poor communication junior staffers who didn't understand the complexity of his orders. They assigned us some kid fresh out of college, Robert grumbled. I asked for adjustments and he tells me he needs to check with his team lead. Karen, you knew our system better than my own logistics department. That line, it hit me in the chest. You knew our system better than we did. Robert, I asked slowly, what would it take for you to consider transitioning to Gravora? There was silence on the other end. Then he chuckled. Are you making me an offer? 2 days later, Robert scheduled a formal meeting with Patricia and Gravora's onboarding team. Morrison Fabrics was prepared to sign a $1.2 million logistics contract, and that was just the beginning. If the call from Morrison Fabrics opened a door, the next 2 kicked it off its hinges. Less than 48 hours after Robert scheduled the transition meeting, I received a call from Jennifer Hayes, head of supply chain at Coastal Manufacturing. Her voice was clipped professional, but underneath I could hear the strain. Karen, I hope you don't mind me reaching out, she began. Robert Uled mentioned you're with Gravora Group now. Frankly, we're desperate for help. Desperate. That word did more damage to my heart than Brianna's screaming ever had. Jennifer and I had worked together for years. Coastal was always one of our most organized clients, planned every shipment months in advance, rarely needed last-minute changes. If they were struggling, it wasn't them. It was the service. She detailed missed delivery windows, inflexible scheduling, and worst of all, a brush-off from their new account manager when they raised concerns about quality. The final straw, she said bitterly, was last week. We had an urgent shipment. Instead of helping us find a workaround, the rep told us our expectations were unrealistic. Karen, you know us. You know we don't make unrealistic demands. I knew without a doubt that this wasn't just incompetence. It was the consequence of blind leadership. Brianna had taken one of our most efficient accounts and handed it to someone who didn't know the difference between a shipping label and a port hold. What would transitioning look like for you, I asked. We're ready, she said. We've been ready for months. But now that you're at Gravora, we know you get our needs. The moment you give us the green light, we'll begin. Less than a day later, the third call came. Margaret Torres, Sustainability Officer at Pinnacle Textiles. No preamble, no small talk. We're terminating our contract with North Rise Apparel, she said bluntly. Effective next month. I nearly dropped my phone. Margaret. They can't meet our reporting standards. Their sustainability efforts are surface level, and frankly, we're tired of being brushed off. Are you interested in taking us on? I didn't even need to answer. My stunned silence said it all. That same week, I sat in my new office and watched 3 multi-million-dollar clients prepare to walk away from Northrise and follow me to Gravora. Combined, they represented over $3.5 million in annual logistics revenue. Patricia Wells was thrilled. The operations team was already drafting transition protocols, and for the first time in years, I felt invigorated. But I'd be lying if I said it was all satisfaction. There was something else, too, a bitter sadness that clung to me like humidity. These clients weren't just jumping ship because of me. They were running from the wreckage Brianna had created. The broken systems, the arrogance, the blind belief that people like me could be replaced without consequence. But nothing prepared me for what came next. Monday, 9:15 a.m. sharp. 3 certified letters landed on Brianna's desk at Northrise Apparel. Termination notices. Morrison, Coastal, Pinnacle. All 3 cited failure to meet service expectations. All 3 announced they were transferring operations to Gravora Group. All 3 had included one small pointed detail. They specifically requested me by name to lead their accounts. At 9:53 a.m., my office phone rang. Karen Brianna's voice came through tight brittle. "We need to talk." I almost smiled. "Hello, Brianna. How can I help you?" "Don't play games with me," she hissed. "You poached our clients. This is sabotage. Corporate will take legal action." That was her default. Threats, control. "Brianna," I said calmly, "I didn't poach anyone. These companies came to us. You might want to ask yourself why 3 of your largest accounts chose to leave less than a month after my departure." The silence that followed was glorious. Then, in a voice I'd never heard from her before, small, fragile, she whispered, "Karen, can you talk to them? Convince them to stay. I made mistakes. We can fix this. Just help me." I laughed. "You want me to convince them to stay with the company that underpaid me, dismissed me, and accused me of being disloyal?" Silence. "I'm afraid that's not possible. My loyalty is with Gravora Group now." And with that, I hung up. By Wednesday afternoon, the storm Brianna tried to control had turned into a full-blown corporate disaster. Patricia's network buzzed with industry whispers. 3 major clients terminating contracts in the same week. That wasn't a client service hiccup. That was a leadership failure. And Northrise's board knew it. We heard through vendors and mutual connections, emergency meetings, crisis emails, phone calls flying across time zones. The combined loss of Morrison Coastal and Pinnacle represented 32% of Northrise's annual logistics revenue. In less than 7 days, their foundation had crumbled. And I wasn't even finished unpacking my new desk yet. That Wednesday at 2:17 p.m., my cell buzzed with an unfamiliar number. "Miss Whitley, this is David Patterson from Northrise Apparel's executive team. Do you have a moment?" I froze. David Patterson, Vice President of Operations, Brianna's boss, the same man who for 12 years had never once spoken directly to me. "I'm listening," I said, cautious. "We'd like to formally offer you your position back," he said, words clipped but rehearsed. "With a promotion to Director of Logistics and a significant salary increase. We've reassessed your contributions and realized we may have underestimated your value." "May have, Mr. Patterson," I replied, voice even. "I've received that promotion elsewhere, along with the respect I never got from Northrise." He cleared his throat. "We're prepared to be flexible. Compensation responsibilities name your terms. We're open." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered Brianna's voice hissing, "If you think you're irreplaceable, you're delusional." And the pity vanished. "I'm happy where I am," I said. "Thank you for the offer. My answer is final." Click. That was the moment it all clicked into place for me. This wasn't just about revenge. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about liberation, about finally standing tall in a room that had spent over a decade trying to cut me down to size. By Friday, the chaos had gone public. Word spread fast in the Charlotte logistics community. Northrise's reputation was unraveling. Their service delays, their broken relationships, their executive dysfunction, people were talking. And the best part, I didn't have to say a word. I just let the truth speak. Gravora Group flourished. The 3 new contracts stabilized our East Coast portfolio. I hired 2 junior coordinators, bright, curious, and eager to learn. And this time I made sure to mentor them the way I wished someone had mentored me. Brianna. According to the grapevine, she was reassigned. A polite corporate euphemism that usually meant pushed out quietly before the board votes. It was poetic. 12 years of being told to wait, to be patient, to trust the process. 12 years of watching promotions pass me by while others reaped the rewards of my labor. 12 years of being invisible until my absence became a spotlight. When people ask me now how I managed to get revenge, I tell them the truth: I didn't. I simply walked away and let gravity do the rest. Because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't a dramatic takedown. It's the deafening silence that follows when you finally stop saving the person who never deserved you in the first place. Have you ever been overlooked, underestimated, or undervalued by the very people who claim to support you? Share your story below what was your breaking point. And if you enjoyed this story of silent triumph, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon for more stories like this. You never know who might need the reminder you are not replaceable. Not when your value runs deeper than they ever bothered to see.